Namaskaram, everybody. Welcome to the show, and here we are with a new episode for this week. And today we are going to really talk about something which has been sidelined for quite a while from our attention. And vast majority of Indians, especially youth, we have been kind of neglected this particular thing. I am sure that you will learn after this episode something, and if you feel like this is something you didn't know about it, then feel free to comment down below and share your views. So, what do you guys think that current government in India, or you can say BJP or the NDA or the Modi government, do you think they are really pro-Hindu party? They are pro-Indian party. What do you guys think? So, please share your view at the below at the comment section, and we will dissect every single thing here, and we'll try to figure out whether they're really a pro-Hindu party or not. Because there has been allegation on, particularly in the way the campaign was running before the election, and people have been accusing Modi is a pro-Hindu leader, and all he has been done over the years is just serving Hindu. So we'll figure this out. All right. So as you know, like in our constitution, we have six fundamental rights, right? And one of them is right to education. So right to education is basically is a complementary for the right to equality we have, because regardless of your caste, creed, religion, economic background, sex, you should be provided with a platform for your children, so that they can go through the basic education system, like from the at the age of 6 to 14, so that at least they have basic education, and then afterwards they can figure out whether they want to continue in this route or they want to pursue something else. So it is something coming under this Right to Education Act. So in 2009, RTE, like right of children to free and compulsory education, this act, another way it's called RTE, this act came and was passed in Indian Parliament, and on August 4th, 2009. And then slowly, like other states also, they started implementing that thing because it went through their legislation, and then it became a law, and then started implementing. Everything is fine. But after that, what exactly the implication happened? If you see after 2009, because of, if you go in detail about this act, and or you can say the law, right now it's a law. So what exactly happened for the Indians? So like I said, after 2009 it became a act, now it's a law in India. So basically children, they should get minimum education, from which means from at the age of 6 to 14 they should be going through basic education, so that we can also stop the child labor, because the entire focus was, so children should get free education, and it's a act according to RT. But what happened because of that? Because if you go deep down in this act, so you will understand how the act has been specifically targeted the majority of this country. So when I'm talking about the majority community, I'm talking about Hindus, how they targeted the majority community in this country. So it's basically because of this heavy regulations, it have reduced the number of seats we have right now, or maybe forcing the schools to be shut down, specifically Hindu run schools. So right now it's more than 3,000 schools, more than 3,000 Hindu run schools have already been closed throughout India. Because you have to understand, RTE does not increase schools, does not increase the number of schools or its capacity. It is only about stealing from, maybe you're stealing from Peter and giving to the Paul, something like that. We'll see this analogy a little bit after. Should poor student they get good education? Of course. I mean, if you are a reasonable, logical man, then you will definitely say, without blinking of your eyes, you will say, yes, of course. And like I'm also saying that they should get basic minimum education. It is their fundamental rights, and they should be. If we want to abolish the child labor, then this is the only way. to put them into the school, right? But the problem is, this is how politicians and media, they dumb down and complex issue like this, because government selects all schools. They are run by Hindus only. So you see, there is a, because like I talked about the fundamental rights. First, we have right to equality. So equality, when we talk about equality, like technically on ground, if I say, we have only one thing when it comes to equality, only when you are going for casting your vote, right? When you're casting your vote, only that time you have the equality on the society. I'm just being a little bit harsh on it because there is no other equality. I mean, if you go on the society, it is there on the book, but on ground, are they? You yourself know every single day how many ways you feel like there is no equality. System is, sabotaging you, and in so many ways. So, like I said, when government implemented this act and it became a law, so now how they only targeted Hindus? Like logic was, because Hindus are the majority, so majority have to, pay the bill, and majority have to bear you know, uh, all the burden. Government selects only, schools that are run by Hindus only. It then makes, hundreds of rules that gives, 100% control to the state government, basically, so that state governments, we have education departments, so that they can come to the school and they can pretty much give you a kind of, the rule says like how the admission process needs to be done, and it includes fees, charges, everything has been decided by the state government. And you need to pay attention here. They have made it only for Hindu run schools, not for Christian schools, not for Muslim schools, not for any other schools, only for Hindu run schools. And so they pretty much decide everything, the admission criteria, fees, and all everything. So any school that fails to comply with this long list, hundreds of rules, then that means you have no other option. You have to close down. You have to shut down your school, or maybe a state government will come and take it over officially. And this is exactly they want. So the more Hindu-run schools will be run out of the society, run out of the business. That means they can start, or they've already started. They can, I would say, they extend their propaganda, which is minority appeasement propaganda. They would never be able to do or implement this for other minority schools. They're so-called minority. I don't think so. It's minority. Minority should be, when you say minority, it should be the Jewish people. It should be Buddhist, Jains, and Parsis. Like those, their numbers are even not even in lakhs. Not even in lakhs. I was looking at the census report lately, and they're not even in lakhs. They are truly, truly, they are minor. Okay, and they are really minority, because when you have like almost 14-15% or 20% of country's population, and they are in crores, and I think it's not a minority. They are just using, I would say, constitution for taking for granted, and our politicians, they are just allowing it to do. So next thing they have done, it like how it has impacted. Government said, they forced basically all these Hindu run schools, you have to give 25% of seats to the government for free of cost, of course, which means the rest 75% students, those who are studying in the school, they have to bear these 25% fees. Because if you want to be in the business, then you have to charge them, right? You have to charge your customers, in this case as students, then you will charge these regular 75% students, and then they're also bearing the other, so the free education, so-called, their burden. So these basically 25% seats are given away to the various caste-based draws, like, or maybe sometimes again they will come to the Dalits and all everything, because SC/ST is like there is a provision, and I get it, but it has to be all across all schools, right, in the country, because SC/ST students, they also can get education from those other schools as well, right? We have the convent school, we have the schools those are running by Muslim communities. So I mean, they can also get, because students are students and they can get admission there, because as long as they are following state board or CBSE board or whatever may be the case, so education is same everywhere, so they should be getting the minimum amount of seats over there as well, right? But no, these reservations are only capped for the Hindu run schools. It could be government funded or maybe private run Hindu schools. The irony is, if government is not able to fill these 25% seats, that means these seats have to be vacant for throughout the year. That means you can imagine how much loss the Hindu run schools, their owners, they have to bear. I mean, essentially, they're making and they're saying it indirectly, hey, you just give away your key, your school key, or hand it over to us. Okay, all that's exactly all we want. We don't want you to run your Hindus run schools based on the Indic education system. We don't want that. We want to run our own propaganda. So you just give your key to us. They're forcing these school owners or these organizations to give away their keys. Like again, right to education RTE is also, like I said, is only applicable for Hindu schools, and it is not even applicable for any other so-called minority groups. So if I come back to the previous question, yeah, should poor students get education? I mean, of course. Do people think that RTE law is the answer? What do you think? Without blinking my eyes, I will say it's no, because barely it's just serving the purpose. Rather than it aggravates the problem, creating fundamental issues of religious discrimination, which is a great example. RTA is a great example because on one side you're talking about equality, and on the other side you are making such laws which you are clearly dismantling the majority community of the country and this country's cultural, like the ethos and the civilization we had. You are just trying to dismantle that, and you have been doing it systematically. Okay, so what kind of sufferings because of that, like these Hindu run schools owners or the school organizations, they have been going through? So like another rule they have made, like if you have to run these schools, they gave a rule for 30 student there has to be one teacher. So 30 is to 1, the student, sorry, for the 30 student one teacher, so student teacher ratio something called. So this thing they have made it. So imagine if, let's say, you are running a Hindu school in big cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore. So you think about that. Such big cities expenses, so how you will be even meet your expenses? Because first thing, you can't give admission 100% student. So you have to keep that 25% free of cost, so 75% students are paying the extra charges for these 25% students. Those are so-called reservation. And then next thing is the school fees, the curriculum, the structure, everything has been set up by the state. So you have barely no role to play. That means you can do anything. You just have to accommodate with them, and you can't run your own campaign. You can't run your like put up your fee structure and anything, whatever has been decided by them then. So it clearly shows in these big cities you won't be able to run the school. And this is, if you, at the same time, if you in Mumbai, if you go to any church run school, right, and if you go there, you will see their expenses how much lower than a Hindu run schools because of this technical problem, this law. So they're inevitably, those Hindu run schools, they have to go, get out of the business, and they have to shut down, which exactly the main agenda of this law, right? And they cannot build institutions of their excellence as a specialty, which means like I said, it's based on Indic value civilization schools. The In earlier time, the we had the Gurukulam education system. So the owners or the organizations can't make or can't change their curriculum based on that, because here comes the state government. They will come and they will interfere into it, and they will pretty much dictate the way, like 100% how it should be. Again, even the irony is, let's say someone is Hindu and he's from let's say so-called Dalit, and he is running a school. So in his school, if he, like, it is illegal for him to give 100% reservation to Dalits, not even 10% reservation for like to them. So what kind of law it is? You are saying it's for the unprivileged people, unprivileged so-called Hindus. Okay, I get it. And if a Dalit is making a school and he or she can't even give reservation to his own people. I don't get it. And this is the discrimination. You can do same thing with church system. You can do the same thing with Muslim run schools, because in Islam, there will be 14, 15 types of Muslims are there. Same with Christians. There's so many varieties, types of Christians, right? Will government be able to go and tell them, okay, you have so many categories of your Christian people or Muslim people, so you have to give them reservation based on that? No, this is not the case, unfortunately. So bottom line is, Hindu run schools, they cannot build any specialized institution. Like I said, a Hindu cannot decide to build the world class institute which will admit only those students, those who have, let's say, IQ level of more than 135. But it is applicable for a church run school. For example, you go to Mumbai, you go to Bangalore, you will see so many like church run this Christian missionary schools. You will see they have a specific criteria. If you have, like, IQ level of 130, 135, so they are only taking admission for those students, and this thing is not applicable for Hindus, right? Hindus run schools, they cannot do it. For example, all the celebrities you have, rich people, government official, even politicians send their children to these minority, so-called minority institutions, right? Not the private RTE enabled schools, because RTE Act they made, in these RTE schools they will not send their kids. They're sending all these expensive private, so-called private minority schools, like church-run schools or Muslim-run schools, whatever they have. There are many politician. Kejriwal is sending his daughter, like celebrities. Even ex-chief minister of Maharashtra, Dharmendra Fadnavis, his daughter is also going to similar schools. So we know, and this is true. So that at the end of the day, is like the same benefit is like actively is denying for the Hindu run schools. So friends, you see, the right to education, does it increasing number of schools or the school capacity? No, it's just in other ways, just like forcing these schools to shut down their schools, as simple as possible. So yes, this, because of this such a heavy regulation, actually it reduces the number of seats, like I said, and forcing these even existing schools to be shut down. This reduced total like availability seats, and more than 3,000 schools, like I said, they have already shut down. So it's, in other words, it's just denying our fundamental rights, to Hindus, because fundamental right says is right to education. Right to education on caste, creed, sex, religion, your economic background. So if this is the case, it has to be implemented in all schools in India, right? Because they are running their school in India. If they're running their school in India, Indian sovereignty, then how come they are exempted from this rule? Why? How government are being allowed even making such an act, and it got passed and it became a law? And if I talk about this Modi government, the initial question I asked, whether the Modi government or BJP or NDA, whatever maybe you want to call, are they pro-Hindu? Of course not. Of course not. They don't even care. They don't even bother. If they would, probably, they were maybe, they made so many changes by now. It's been more than 10 years. It's been more than 10 years. For Congress, they made it. Congress, so the good thing with Congress is, like, whatever they say, they do it. Even though it's unconstitutional, it's wrong, even it's ethically wrong, then they will do it because they are so much committed. They're pretty much consistent, I would say, because they have done any good thing to this nation after independence. But even the bad things they have done, they were pretty consistent. And this is the best thing about Congress. BJP, where they miserably they failed, because they are not being even able to fulfill the Congress manifesto they had. So again, coming back to the topic, it is absolutely unconstitutional. Absolutely unconstitutional. It is violating the right to education, fundamental rights of Hindus, and we have been marginalized. We have been sidelined for so many decades. Many of us, I am 100% sure, we got masters, bachelors, but probably we do not know about this. Such kind of unconstitutional scam is going on in India. For example, it was a case in Karnataka. So there was a case against in the Supreme Court in TMA versus the state of. So Indian Constitution basically gives people to right to freely choose an occupation But under this, UPA government, they made a 93rd constitutional amendment, which was brought about, took over the rights only for Hindus to practice any occupation of their choices, like those who are studying in such schools. But like we are Hindus and we are the most tolerant society, I would say, in this world. If you ask any common Hindus, maybe he's doing decent job, living in big cities, he will say, I don't mind paying, a little bit extra. So some poor kid, they can get study in my child's school. But the problem is, why is 25% reservation is a problem for them? They don't see this 25% reservation problem where exactly like they are being targeted. The repercussion they are not being able to understand, because it's not about 25%, because it's about systematically they are trying to uprooting and demoralizing the ethos of this nation's culture. This culture has been supreme in every single platform. If you go to the past Indic histories, you will see that. I'm not going there, but in past 600-700 years, it went through so much distortion, and still we are in that zone, and we couldn't being able to come out of that phrase, and which is this like right now it's act like RTE, you can able to see. So there is something called a voluntarily, like voluntary donation. When you, like we do voluntary donation, we maybe we're going to the temple, and maybe some such organizations coming for good cause, we are doing that, which makes sense. But there is something called coerced extortion, which is this law exactly it is. Because imagine you have two flats, right? And you want to rent two flats. One flat you have rented to a tenants, maybe a family, they are living there. Another flat, government is coming and they're saying, hey, you have to give me this flat for free of cost, and you have no other option. So what do? You will charge this guy, this family extra, right? This tenant, just to suffice, because this free of cost, that flat you have given. So exactly the same thing is happening. So government is stealing your flat. Government is basically stealing your money. They're stealing the opportunity you have. Like there are other problems that it caused, like by the people that government sends to, like sometimes government will choose and they will send their people to live in that flat. So you have barely no control. They may send to, drug addict, or maybe you don't know like who, to whomsoever they're sending. And then it's basically it's just impacting the decorum you have maintained in your flat. So the other tenants, if they see they're living with the family, most likely they will also vacate. So you see the repercussion. So basically you will be out of the business, and down the road nobody will be able to in the society or neighborhood to come to your flat to rent it out, right? And this is exactly government is doing with the Hindu run schools. So you have to understand this analogy is basically to make this owner no more in the position to be in the market or develop their school, like as a high quality or budget friendly, or for maybe for rich people they can send their kids. Nothing can happen like like either of these, because until or unless this law is applicable. So what if the law applies only in Hindu school? At least Hindu schools are being forced to provide education to poor, and that is a good thing. But what about the other community schools? So isn't it a discrimination against the fundamental rights our constitution gives us? I mean, it's not we are doing just partial benefits to a particular community, because it is something most common people fail to understand. Is imagine this: there are two restaurants you have. One is run by Hindu and another is run by Christian. Okay, the government says that only Hindu run restaurant is subject to food and health safety inspection, whereas the Christian run restaurant is also. Hindu run restaurants can be served only government provided menu with price list, of course, set by the government, so that the poor people can eat there. So can you guess that the Hindu run restaurant like have to shut down their business, or maybe sell it the business to the Christian business owner, because they won't be able to meet up their daily expenses. It's as simple as it is. It doesn't take a genius to understand. It's like a common economics, right? So basically, how was this law be passed? We need to understand. We have to go a little bit in the history, what exactly happened. So the law was passed with a very little debate, simply because, to the first point, the mention in the article, intellectuals in the country, they lacked basically to understand the point out of this religious discrimination in this law. Or like the opposition parties at that time were incompetent. Specifically, we had BJP at the time or NDA. They were not in the power at the time. I'm talking about 2009. So they couldn't be able to protest. I get it. But what happens now? It's been 10 years. The last term, if I talk about from 2019, BJP they won more than 300 seats, right? It's a super majority. Have you done by that time? What was doing your what was stopping you to take this law out of our constitution? Because it is absolutely utterly unconstitutional. It is violating the fundamental rights of Hindus. What was stopping you? Because you want to do appeasement politics, which you have been doing, by the way, for past 10 years. What you said in 2013, and if you go back to like BJP's manifesto by 2013, and if you compare it to now, there's a worlds apart. So they are not incongruent. Whatever they said, they are absolutely not doing or not showing their action towards that. This is basically the like it shows the proper example of the discrimination, because you are saying, you are like wearing that in your neck, the tag that yes, we are a Hindu run government, we are for the Hindu, by the Hindu, of the Hindu. Yes, are you? Can you say while you are going at night to sleep, can you say that? Can you look at the mirror? Can you? So basically, the government has failed, guys. The bottom line is, so-called BJP or the Hindu party, they have failed to this simple act to take it out from the constitution, when for past 10 years they were in the majority, and this time they are in coalition government. So I do not have any expectation, which is normal. And if they maintain their performance like this and sidelining Hindus from the mainstream, we know what happened is in Ayodhya. Even though it was a like vast majority people are Hindus, I guess more than 90%. So what happened there? We saw that. I think this is just an beginning. BJP or government, they should understand it's going to happen, and it's going to unfold next 2019, like next 2029 elections, general election. The Modi government, they basically, if they don't perform in this 5 years, uh, they have to pay the price the way they have paid in this election, because they have to make a huge shift from the appeasement politics to the serving majority community of the country. Guys, do like, I'm sure our prime minister and the home minister, they have basic understanding, they have basic logic in their mind, because we have Hindu community is almost 80%, right, in this country, and you need only 50% vote share, 50% vote in order to win the election, or maybe to come into to make your own government. Just serve this majority, as simple as it is. And if you're serving majority, there will be peace, there will be harmony in the society. If you don't believe, then you have to read our history again, because you look at the Europe, look at North America, what is happening. If Hindu are being marginalized and sidelined, and their numbers are becoming, day by day, if their numbers are reducing, and their pleas are not, their pleas are if even unheard, then you think about what will happen. Then India will be also facing that consequences, and because of the leadership. So who will be the responsible? The leadership. The leadership of this country, the leadership of this who has served in past 10 years. Congress has done so many wrong things. What have you done to fix them? What a single act you have abolished which was against Hindu, and it is still in the practice? What a single act? Can you give me a name? No, you can't, because you haven't done anything. So I hope this video reach out to uh, the government, or maybe the BJP political party, so that they can think about it, because it's been happening for past 14 15 years, this discrimination against Hindus. So this is official data. It says 3,000 schools. I am sure it's more than 5,000 school unofficially, because it is really impossible for a business person or an organization to run if government specifically targeting and they are discriminating a specific community rather than targeting it the minorities. Or maybe if you want to make a law, then it should be applicable for all schools in India regardless of the religion, regardless of private owned, government owned, what maybe the school is, right? But this is the real life example of discrimination, guys. So I hope you guys learned something about this series of this podcast, and then we'll continue the series, and you let me know if you have further more information, and if this was something new to you, let me know. Go back to the comment section and feel free to show your love through subscribing and following the channel, and we'll see you on the other side of the video in the next week.